All right, it looks like we're at the top of the hour. We'll go ahead and get started. My name is Q Mangus. I'm a product marketing manager here at Micro Focus, and we're joined by Ben Horne, operations manager. Today we're going to be talking about secure messaging gateway. This session is going to be unique in the sense that we are going to ask your questions or have you ask questions to us. So if you do have questions for us, we have a few that are pre-submitted, but if you have questions about secure messaging gateway, please feel free to put those through in the question panel there on the GoToWebinar, and we'll be sure to get to those. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to just have Ben give a brief overview of Secure Messaging Gateway, and then talk about some of the new features, and then we'll get right into your questions. So we'll go ahead and give the time over to Ben.
Thanks, Q. So for those of you that don't know, Secure Messaging Gateway is an all-inclusive email scanning tool that scans your email before it gets into your actual email system. In the case of GroupWise, we have extended the support to multiple places within the GroupWise email system. We have now added in the MTA, PO, WebAccess, GMS, all of those different areas. So with the Micro Focus Secure Messaging Gateway product, we preemptively block any of the malicious email coming into your system. We do this through many ways, through zero-hour virus, multi-level or multi-layer span defense. We support multiple systems, whether it be GroupWise, Gmail, Exchange, Office 365. We can detect inbound versus outbound traffic. Cyber threat protection, different network protection, so based on IP address level scanning, and then we also have the illicit image blocking functionality within the Secure Messaging Gateway product. So we also do email content scanning, so looking for keywords within email coming in. The perimeter defense scanning, so IP level blocking, IP reputation, RBL, those types of things. Denial service protection, so if we see too many connections from a single IP address in a given amount of time, we indicate that this specific IP address is trying to consume all of the threads and not allow legitimate email to come through. Outbound protection, so whatever tests that you would want to do on an inbound side, you can do on outbound side. So blocking outbound viruses, adding in a level of preventing, social security numbers or credit card information, doing certain regex type filtering. The policy-based or multi-tenant configuration. So if you host email for multiple customers, each customer can have their own set of policies, their own logins. They can manage it themselves. They see their own quarantine and they're not mixed in with everybody else's. So really useful in the multi-tenant situation. And the end user blacklist and whitelist. So rather than having your users come to you for specific, can you whitelist this? Can you blacklist this? You can give that functionality to your end users and allow them to do that type of management.
Perfect. And then what's new in our latest release, in the release that's coming out this month?
So we actually just had a release today, and this release had some new features to round up some of the GroupWise integration. We have implemented a new IMAP scanner to protect against the GroupWise post office, but it's not just limited there. It's extended into a generic IMAP interface scanner. So you provide a user and a password for a specific mailbox. We can then scan the IMAP for that user. With the GroupWise integration, you give us a trusted application key and name, and we'll scan all your mailboxes for a given post office. We also implemented a new address rewriting function. So if you had to, for whatever reason, change an email domain that came in, for example, you have a user at microfocus.com, but you wanted to change all email that's coming in to microfocus.com to go to marketing.microfocus.com. And then that way, somewhere down the line, your email system could translate that and direct it to the right mailboxes. Or if messages, someone replies to a marketing email and they're replying to user at marketing.microfocus.com, and you say, well, we don't want that one to actually be used, so let's translate that into just microfocus.com, so the users can not have that back and forth and stuff. So the other thing with the licensing system, with Secure Messaging Gateway, you can have specific licenses for specific interfaces. So if you just want to use the SMTP interface, you can pay just for an SMTP license. If you wanted to go beyond that and have a WebAccess interface license, or an MTA license, or an IMAP license, now Secure Messaging Gateway has the ability to only support the interface types that you're purchasing. So you don't get charged for more than what you're actually using. Those were the main new features in this latest update that we actually just pushed out this morning.
Perfect. Great. Okay, it looks like there were a few questions here. The first one is this the Guava interface, or is this what we used to call Guava?
So it's the similar. It is essentially the Guava product, but with the MicroFocus name and branding now. There was an evolution from the existing Guava 6.5 interface. The Guava, or the Secure Messaging Gateway interface, is quite a bit different than the Guava 6 interface, but you still have a lot of the same functionality, but there's additional functionality beyond what Guava 6.5 or with the older versions of Guava would support.
Okay, great. And for this one, you might need to share your screen. So it's just, what is the upgrade process from Guava 6.5 to Secure Messaging Gateway?
So the upgrade process, because the Secure Messaging Gateway runs on a different and new platform, there is no in-place upgrade for 6.5 to Secure Messaging Gateway. We have provided a migration path so that you can migrate all of your settings from 6.5 to Secure Messaging Gateway. It's not terribly difficult. You deploy the Secure Messaging Gateway appliance. During the install, there's a checkbox to say enable the migration tools. Once you check that box and you log into the web interface for the first time, at the very top menu, there's a Guava 6 migration. You click on the link and it has a step-by-step, tells you what files we need or what database connections we need, and it will pull over all of your policies that you've set up within the Guava 6 system. It will bring them over to the Secure Messaging Gateway system. The one caveat with that is that we don't migrate any of your quarantine or your statistics, only because those will naturally phase themselves out after 30, 60 days, whatever your policy is on the quarantine and the statistics. You can leave them both up and running at the same time. It doesn't hurt to have them both up, so users can release any of the quarantine mail until the new quarantine has fully populated and is ready to go.
Great. Another one that came through is how could a machine inside the network that has malware send through SMG and not leave a trace? Is that possible?
So if it's going through the Secure Messaging Gateway, it's not possible, because if they're trying to send outbound SMTP, we have to, within the Secure Messaging Gateway, you specify certain IP addresses that are allowed to relay mail out. So we definitely recommend not using a generic wildcard, let this entire IP address range send out. We definitely recommend specifying specific IP addresses, or if all of your servers that were in a subnet, you could do that. Typically, most people don't have more than just a few servers that send email out. So if the a compromised account or a compromised machine inside the network knew about your SMG box and says, oh, well, this guy's allowed to send email out, so I'm going to connect to him and send out. As soon as they do that, we're going to we log the IP address. We log the mail from the recipient or multiple recipients. All of that's logged both in the actual logs on the server, but as well in, as long as your policy has been configured properly, in our message tracker, so that you can use the web tool and see all of the email coming in and out. So we have not seen it where if a compromised machine connects to the SMG machine and we don't log it. We have not seen that.
Perfect. And then, is the license model per user?
It is, yes. You do purchase your licenses on a per user basis. So a lot of users will have, say 5 email addresses for one user. You're not dinged for 5 licenses for a single user. In that case, you would still only be using 1 license for that user.
Okay, great. Let's see. Another one is how to secure, it looks like GroupWise with SSL.
Well, so there's a couple ways. There's the securing with SSL on the web interface for secure messaging gateway. First step that has to be done there with secure messaging gateway, we do run on top of Apache. And so everything in the web interface is standardized on Apache. So there's no longer, go to a specific port and configure it there. Once we configure SSL on Apache, now anytime you hit the web interface, you can say we're going to force SSL on the web interface. With the other bits, or the other part of that with SSL, is making sure that email is encrypted as it comes from the sender, and then as we talk to the internal SMTP system. So that's done by using your certificates that you would get from your domain controller or a third party that can issue a certificate. So you upload those certificates to the SMG server, and then inside of the SMTP interface, or in the management interface, you specify where these certificates are on disk. Once you do that and restart SMTP, we can now advertise that we can use Start TLS and secure message coming from the outside coming into SMG. That's only 50% of the encryption, because as soon as we talk to the internal SMTP server, whether it's GroupWise or Exchange or whoever it is, if they're not advertising Start TLS, we are going to connect to the internal system and deliver the message in plain text. So that's why it's a multi-step process here, where you have to make sure that you configure the SMG to accept secure mail, but then you also need to make sure that your internal email system is advertising that it accepts secure email.
Great, perfect. And then I guess a follow-up on the license model is, so the license module is per user per connector types used?
That one I'm not 100% on. The licensing and sales would definitely be able to better answer that, where if it's user A with SMTP and you're also purchasing for a WebAccess license, they would be able to better work with you and verify those things.
Great. Perfect. And then one that came through, could you show us how you'd set up the filters in Secure Messaging Gateway?
Okay, so as we log into the secure messaging interface here, you're first prompted with what do you want to go in and log in to see. So you have your system administration, which shows you all the administration functionalities, the quarantine system, which will take you into whatever's been quarantined, and then the message tracker, which will show you all the email that we've scanned and we've recorded, and will tell you whether or not it's been blocked or not. So to set up a filter, we'll go into the system administration. And if you're used to the Guava 6 world, this is where we diverge quite a bit. So you have your system management, which allows you to control a lot of your server level functions. Your module management, which allows you to configure your interfaces and your scan engines and your QMS modules or any of the other modules here. And down at the organization/policy management, this is where you would come and configure your policies, or if you are doing a multi-tenant situation, this is where you would come and create a multi-tenant situation. So to create a policy, you have two ways. And if you click on policy management, you can do a wizard level policy, or if you're familiar enough with the system, you can say, I'm going to go on my own and do this myself. So I've created a mail filter policy for SMTP, and here you have a bunch of different qualifications. Now, what you check here has no effect on whether we block a message or the test that we run. It just says if a message coming in and its match type is of SMTP and it's matched the direction, then use this policy. And you can create as many policies as you want. You just have to remember that the policy that is at the top of the list, that's the first one that we look to see. Do I match this policy? As soon as we get a yes, that we have matched this policy, this is the one we use. And we don't use any of the others. So we don't scan a single message with two policies. We only scan a message with one policy. So once we've matched a policy, now we can come down into the policy scan configuration and actually configure the policy. So this is, again, very different. If you're used to the Guava 6 world, this is where it is a lot different. So this policy was set up with the wizard. So in a default situation, this is our default setup. This is where you're going to come, configure the policy, and do what you need to do. So you have three different areas in the policy. You have your filter templates. So these are all the different filters that we can run, or the different tests that we can run. This ranges from your anti-spam, antivirus, down to SPF, Serval, message text, anything like that. Then you have your services. These are the actions that we take when a filter is activated, or when a filter has matched a certain criteria. And this is, again, block, quarantine, notify, the administrator or user, attach a signature, those types of things. With the exceptions, these are just what they are. They're exceptions to say if a filter activates, but the sender or recipient, or it has this text, or whatever which one you define here, matches here, then let the message come through. So to create a filter, what you can do, if it's not already down on your workbench here down at the bottom, you can just pick one. So let's say if we're going to add a message text filter. So we just take it, we grab it, and we drag it down to the bottom. Now we have a message text filter in place. If you notice, there's a little triangle with an exclamation. What this is saying is, yeah, you can run this test and you can create, look in the body and, look for the word spam. And if it's word spam, great. This message text filter is activated and it's doing it. We found, that criteria, but we haven't associated it with anything. To associate it with a service, you just grab the pin, in the case, the little orange one, and you drag it onto whatever service you want to activate. So I associate it with the message block service. Message block means don't deliver it to the end user. This doesn't mean that it's going to get sent to the quarantine. It just means that the end user is not going to know that they got a message. If you want to quarantine it, then you also need to drag the pin over to the quarantine item. Now this message, if a message comes in and there's spam in the message body, meaning the word spam, not actual spam, then we are going to block the message and quarantine the message. So not deliver to the end user and send a copy to the quarantine. The services are independent of one another. So you can quarantine a message and not block it. So the end user will still get the message, but a copy will get sent to the quarantine. Or you can just block the message and then the quarantine will never know about it. The other way to associate with a service, if you take the pin and you drop it anywhere in the white space, you're prompted with a menu saying, all right, well, which objects do you want to associate with? So with the components, these are the pre-configured ones that are already on the workbench or that it knows about. Or in the templates, this is where you can say, I want to do this new one. So I'm going to say, I want to notify somebody. So now if a message comes in with the word spam in the message body, we are going to block the message, quarantine the message, and notify. You can say, I want to notify the recipients that this message came in. Or if you wanted to specify specific additional recipients, you can do that. And then save your changes. Now, this policy will scan for the word spam in the message body, block it, quarantine, and notify the recipient that we blocked a message that had the word spam in the message body.
Perfect. All right, so it looks like we have a few more, and feel free if you have any other questions that we haven't answered, feel free to put those through. The other question is, will SMG remain as an appliance, or will it ever be a software package?
Right now, it's planned on maintaining as an appliance, only because we want to make sure that the operating system that we are supported on, is fully tested and run through the QA gamut of tests, and you're not going to have compatibility issues. That may change in the future, but as of right now, it's currently planned to remain as a software appliance.
And then can Secure Messaging Gateway work with a cloud email service like Office 365?
Yes, so any email system that supports the SMTP protocols, that would pretty much be everybody. All you have to do is you say, here is my email domain that I want to service. So in this case, toystory.com. And then you say, okay, when a message comes in and the recipient email domain is toystory.com, talk to this server and to route the mail to. So this is where you could put in the host name that Office 365 would specify route your mail to this system. So your MX record would point to the Guava box or the SMG box, and then the Secure Messaging Gateway box would then relay to the Office 365 email system.
All right, that looks like all the questions we have. I'll guess I'll give you one last call if there's any other questions that you'd like to ask. Doesn't look like we have any others. Thanks everyone for submitting your questions and for being here and for your interest in Secure Messaging Gateway. As I stated earlier, you will receive an email with a recording to this. If you do have any other questions that we didn't get to or you'd like further information, feel free to reach out to us. Thanks, Ben, for your time, and thanks everyone for being on this webinar. Have a good rest of your day.